Now to our main discussion. Security operatives earlier today sealed the palace of the Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, barring him from traveling to the Barricade Emirate for a royal event. The sealing of the Emir's palace and restriction on Emir Sanusi's movement further highlights the deepening tensions and legal complexities within the Kano Emirate. Emir Sanusi II, who was deposed in March 2020 amid political controversies, was reinstated under equally contentious circumstances by the current governor of the state, Abba Yusuf, in May 2024. The crisis within the Kano Emirate remains unresolved, with both parties awaiting a verdict from the Court of Appeal. The Gidan Rumfa, also known as the Emir's Palace, has served as the residence of Kano's traditional authority since its construction in the late 15th century. Meanwhile, the venue of the beachy event was also cordoned off by security personnel, leaving attendees and organizers stranded. Our correspondent Ibrahim Isa, who has been monitoring the development, was live on TVC News at 1 to give updates.
We learned that he was expected to attend a staff presentation at Beachy, seeing off one of the newly advanced one bunker to the Beachy area. So the current situation right now at the Emir Palace is the security agencies are still there. And we also learned that even at Beachy, that's the Beachy Emirate, the Beachy Emir Palace, there is presence of security there where the event was expected to hold. So currently, the Emir has been carrying out that royal duty. This is coming. The Kano Emirate Tussle continues with the expectation awaiting both verdicts, that's the Court of Appeal verdict, by the two emirs, that's the 15th Emir, Amir Adobayaro, who is holding post at the Nasara Palace, and Emir Sanusi, who is at Kidabumpa. The state, as you can see, is peaceful. Today is Friday, and residents, especially Muslim residents, are already at the mosque. And there is no tension in this part of the state where I am currently standing, and just a few meters away from where I am is where the Emir Palace is, and that's where the security operatives are currently taking charge.
We'll be speaking with a lawyer to get more updates on this developing story from the ancient city of Kano. But let's take a moment. When we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us.
Thank you very much. I think the art of barricading the Emir's palace, if you look at it from every angle, it is more of an aberration to the grand norm, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. First of all, the Emir as a person, has his, fundamental right as enshrined by the Constitution. He has the right to movement, without hindrance. And I must say, you see, looking at it from every angle, you can rightly say that no any offense, no any allegation, nothing has been cited as a reason or justification for barricading the Emir's palace. I can tell you, looking at it from the mirror of the law, that is, a violation of his fundamental right. Unless, of course, the police can come up with any reason, either by a court order, probably based on a particular suit that has been filed in court, for which the court has directed that action should be carried out. But I can tell you, none of that, has been advanced up to this moment, and I believe it's a violation of the Emir's palace, Emir's fundamental right to movement without hindrance.
All right, but then how does the current crisis within the Kano Emirate relate to the Emir's previous deposition, remember, in March of 2020, and his reinstatement in May this year?
Okay, well, if you're talking about the Emirate Tussle, I can tell you that is lispendis. You recall that there has been, there were about 2 judgments, either, from either of the sides, which have been put before the Court of Appeal for determination. So such matter is listened. I do not think, and even if at all it is, there will be no justification for the police agency of the police, to prefer a particular judgment, protection of a particular judgment against the other. So I think since the matter is pending, that particular attitude should not have been displayed by the law enforcement agents. Believe me sincerely, it is a grave danger, projected at the democracy and the democratic principles.
You mentioned that we haven't heard anything from the police yet, which is actually, the situation. But then, should the police, for instance, come out tomorrow, in the hours to come, and maybe release a statement or release some form of document to show why they have carried out this action, would it justify it, considering it was not shared, it was not communicated before they took this step?
Okay, if the police, any moment from now, can either advance a justifiable reasons. When I say justifiable reasons, I mean either a directive or an order of court portion to a particular suit which has been filed before the court, and the court gave an order for them to stop. Because if you look at the background of what is happening, what we have had so far from the information in circulation is that the Emir intends to take a district head of Bichi. I think, goes there to install a district of Bichi, and then against that background, they barricaded the palace. That is the information in circulation for now. But if tomorrow comes and they bring forward any justifiable reasons, not any reason, justifiable reasons supported by law, one of which may be there is a court judgment or there is a court order directing that particular act should be stopped, perhaps the police agency will be justified. But as I'm talking to you, there has been any word, none that I know of, which has said that this is the reason. The only thing that has been put forth, which we also found, in the circulation, is that there is likelihood of breakdown of laws and order. You see, that appears to be a blanket, speculation. Because if you are alleging, what the police ought to do is to give the Emirates a support, protect. Because if you look at the provision of the Police Act 2020, one of their duties is to protect lives and property. So agreed, what they would have done is probably to give them support and protection, because what they are doing within the ambit of the Emirate activity is not illegal. But if you have any court order which say they should not do that, then that jettisons the legality of that particular act, and of course the police will be justified.
All right, let's talk about the legal issues now. What exactly are the implications of the conflicting court orders that we have in this case, and how might the Court of Appeal's verdict impact the situation?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm asking about, the conflicting court orders existing on this case. What do you consider to be the implications of this, and how might the verdicts of the Court of Appeal impact the situation as we have it currently?
Okay, you see, if you listen to some of my live interview, I have said it time without number. There's always backlash when you have two courts delivering different judgments on same matter. One of the implications is that there will be confusion, in the state. The masses will be confused as much as everyone, even the lawyers will be confused, because you won't know which of the judgment or which of the orders is valid and which is invalid, because no pronouncement has been made by the Court of Appeal. One of the implications is what we are having now. If, for instance, based on those judgments, which are listed as I speak, they are before the Court of Appeal, automatically, unless the Court of Appeal pronounce on which is valid and which is invalid, in which case one of them must be set aside and the other one upheld, that is the only time you can say that, okay, that particular judgment from that particular court is no longer effective and hence ceases to have effect. So as it is now, we will continue to live in confusion, we will continue to live in doubt, and this is not a good sign for a society where you have this number of millions of Nigerians all, in dilemma as to which of the documents has legality and which lacks legality. So we will continue to dwell in confusion until the Court of Appeal pronounce on those matters pending before it.
All right, but
I think this is an avenue to say that the Court of Appeal, realizing the significance of this particular judgment, should have come up with a decision by now, so that the masses will be properly guided as to which is legal and which is not legal.
But what can one really hasten the courts? I think they will have to work with, based on evidence before them and, all of those procedures as it happens. But then, can you clarify the role of the governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, in the Emir's reinstatement, and whether this might be seen in some way as an overreach of executive power?
Well, I think I will agree with you. You say in every state, the governor of the state is the chief security officer of the state, in which case every security information, is fed to the office of the governor so as to know what appropriate measures to be taken. But if you look at it as it is in Kano, I think there has been a sour relationship between the executive and the police agency, because there appears to be, as alleged by the Kano State government, there appears to be an excellent partner controlling the agency of the government. This is the allegation they have been making. Whether it's right or wrong, we cannot tell until probably maybe the time when it will come into limelight, because they have been alleging that the police are taking orders from above. Orders from above, which means they are not answerable to the governor of the state. So as the chief security officer of the state, I think he reserves the power to determine what goes in the state, especially as to guide, the peaceful coexistence of the people, and then prevention of breakdown of law and orders. I think the governor should retain that being the governor in the state, the executive governor, so to speak.
All right, but how might the sealing of the Emir's palace and the restriction on his movements affect the stability and security of the Kano Emirate?
Okay, if you look at it, like I said, unverifiable facts show that the Emir was to carry out an activity, which is the installation of the district head of Bichi. Now, in the wake of today, the Emir's palace was sealed, which is a clear indication of negative sign towards carrying out that particular activity. That is to say, that activity is not welcomed. If the police are there to give him protection, they would have said clearly, they would have put him on notice of what they intend to do. And if you look at it from another angle, you could as well say that perhaps since there is a tussle between two contenders, now the other contender is using the police agency to restrain the activity of the Emirate Council. Because in Kano now you can say that you have almost about two palaces, one being in the ancient Emir's palace, and the other one being somewhere at Nasarawa, close to the governor's house. So these are the issues. So whichever is alleged, people could be right. They could be right with their, whatever, issue they put. Because as it is now, the Emir has to shift that particular activity to a later date because of the restriction placed on his movement today.
All right. And in just about 30 seconds, are there any potential consequences for the police or other security personnel involved in the barricading of the palace, should they be found to have acted unlawfully?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are consequences. You see, the activity and duties, obligations of the police, any police officer is governed by the provision of the Police Act 2020 as amended. Any police officer who has acted outside the purview of that particular regulation should be sanctioned. In fact, not that he must be sanctioned, because what you have done is that if you acted outside the purview of that, the person who gave the order and those who participated, they may even be spared. But the person, the head who gave the order to carry out that activity should be found wanting and should be appropriately disciplined.
All right then. Lawyer Abdulkadir Sani, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, that's our program today. We thank you very much for being a part of it. Watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and at 6 a.m. I am Abosede Adenio Aderemi. Have a very productive weekend.